can do like this, no, or hinge, no, pag nakay duha ka member nga imong i-join by a pin, so pwede ingon ani imong symbol. Pag fixed support, of course, nakainana lang, just like what I have drawn a while ago, and then pag fixed connected joint, ingon ani. Okay? So again, no, pag fixed pin support, butangi siya og lingin or usahay tuldok, no, tuldok na itong pag-drawing, tuldok kiriya, and then pag pin support, ano ni alang, triangle. Alright? So, we will not, this one for torsional spring support, no? Sometimes magod na atay mga support wherein na ay mga spring. So, in that case, that becomes a torsional spring support. Mausa ni ang iyahang mga symbol. So, what is an idealized structure? So, ako nang ginaingon ganina, an idealized structure is just like a free body diagram, no? Wherein an actual structure will be converted into an analytic model or a stick model. So just like this one, naka-pin support. So ang atong A, ato siyang batangan og symbol as a pin support. Kani igo ra man na siya gipatong, no? This beam is igo lang gipatong at B. So that is best represented by a roller support. So in that case, this becomes our idealized structure for this particular actual beam. So these are also some of the support of the coplanar structures. So kindly go over with this from your textbook. So another idealized structure, no, for this type of structure. Okay, so here this particular support is fixed joint, fixed support, hence it is supported at both side, no? So at the same time kanisad siguro naka-weld ni siya diri, so that is why naka-fix sad siya ang yung support diya. And then of course our force, which is represented by a letter F. So in this case dalit na lang din nato pag-determine or pagbutang nato ang mga reactions. So another idealized structures, no, for floor system, so mo na siya. And then fixed connected beam. So yeah, pwede sad, no, katong simple ra kayo nga yun ani pag fixed connected beam. Na. Right? Yun. So fixed connected overhanging beam. So most probably ang yun ani ang iyang symbol. So ang diri sad is naka-fixed connected. Okay, and then for floor, concrete floor system, so mo ni ang iyang idealized framing plan. So, for floor system, we will understand what we call the tributary loadings, no? So, unsa man ang tributary loadings, no? Allow me to present a screen. Okay? So, here. Now, for example, you have a framing system. Na kay column, column, and then column. So imagine this line, kaning line nga akong gipangdugang karon are beams. Okay? Dili na ko bagaon kay aron makuan siya dili siya magsapaw-sapaw. Okay? So natay 9 columns all in all. And then we also have beams which connects all of these columns. Okay? So what is this tributary loading, no? Unsa din ang tributary loading? A tributary loading is actually the portion of a particular structure which is carried by a structural element, no? Like for example, let us talk about column, no? Kani nga column, this column here will carry an area which is half, no, from this distance going to this distance. Kani siya nga column will carry half of it. So meaning gikan diha kuha tag tunga at the same time kanisad gikan diri column A to column B kuha tag half ana nga distance diha. So this would be the tributary loading. Okay? So all of the structures which are connected from this shaded line will be carried by this column. Alright? The same manner for this beam, no? Kaning beam P to C, kuha lang kag katunga ni ana diha, then extend mo katunga dito. So kani sa dire kaning akong gipang dot nga line nga area, no? Mao sa ni ang tributary area which be carried by column B. At the same time, this particular shaded area here will be the area carried by column C. Now, what about sa tunga? No? Of course, kuha kag katunga dito, kuha na nimo katunga on both ends. So, this shaded part will be carried by your column, your interior column. Okay? So, what about the beams? No? Kung mayroong putag beam, no? Example, mao na ito ang floor system. Okay? Kung two-way, no? Anyway, natay types of slab unya nga i-discuss, no? Kung two-way ta, ang iya karong distribution is ingon ani. Okay? So pareha na dito sa kanisad, maura na sila, no? Sa diha, mao sa na diha. Pareha. So kani karon nga area will be carried by this beam. This one will be carried by this beam. This one also will be carried by this beam. So that is for two-way, which will be discussed later on. Okay, so these are the types of slab. Now we have two types of slab: one-way slab and two-way slab. Okay, so unsa na to pag-determine nga one-way siya or two-way? So naatay description dere based on ACI 318 code. No, so when we say L2 is greater than L1 and if the span ratio is greater than 2, the slab behave as one-way. Otherwise, it becomes two-way. No. Allow me to take this as an example. Right? Or magbuhat na lang kong screen. Okay, so for example, this is your floor system with a dimension of A and B. Okay, when we say L2, this is the longer dimension. Longer dimension. Right? When we say L1, this is the shorter dimension. Okay? Okay, so like for example, if we have an A value of 3 and then a B value of 5, and then we take the ratio between L2 all over L1, so that becomes 5 divided by 3, or approximately equal to 1.7. Now take note, 1.7 is lesser than 2. So in this case, pag lesser than 2 gani siya, then that particular slab is a one-way slab. Okay? So pag ingon ani gani, one-way dayon. One-way slab. Okay, so ang iha dayong tributary loading sana is ang load will be carried by the longer columns. So tungaon lang nimo ning imuhang short direction. So kani nga area will be carried by this beam, no? Kani nga beam ana tanan diha iya nang i-carry padlong dito. Okay? So i-transfer niya ang load padulong diha nga beam. On the other hand, kani sa diri nga portion will be transferred by the longitudinal beam along the right direction. Alright? So that is for one-way slab. Now, what about for two-way slab? No? So, unsa maning two-way slab? No. Mali dito atong i-present. Dapat two-way dito again, no? So, inani, no? Balik ta. So, if we have a floor system which is ang A na to is 3 and then ang B is 5, ang ratio ni ani which is 5 over 3 is 1.7. So in this case, mahimo kaning two-way. Okay, so nabali atong analysis kanina. So otherwise, kung alimbawa no, naatay floor system nga otherwise, if we have a floor system wherein ang atoang A is only, say for example, 1 meter and we have B which is 4 meters. Ang ratio bali ani at for longitudinal direction, and then the short direction, which is 4 divided by 1, that becomes 4, no? Ang 4 is greater than 2, so that is a one-way slab. Okay? One way. Alright. So, unsa may kalainan aning duha, no? Again, you can determine the type of slab using the ratio of 2. Pag lesser gani ang imong value, lesser siya sa 2, so that becomes two-way. Otherwise, pag greater than 2, that becomes one-way. So, ang kalainan is just like what I have drawn ganina. Pag one-way gani ang imong slab, imo lang tungaon ng short direction, then all of the loads will be carried by the longitudinal beam. Okay, so kani mao na ang iyang load distribution for one-way slab. Pero pag two-way gani ang atong slab, ang resulta ana niya is naka-umbrella. Right? So all of the beams, the four corners of the beams will carry loads, no? So kani nga part will carry by this beam. This one also will be carried by the top beam, and then along the right direction nga beam for that, and then this one will be carried by the bottom beam. Okay, so that is for one-way slab. So like for example, in this case, so na kay column A, B, E, F, pero na ay intermediate beam sa tunga, no? So these are the beams bali ani niya. So this is a beam, girder, and a beam. Okay, so kani bali atong beam diri, beam CD will carry half of the tributary or half of L1 here and half of the L1 at the bottom. So mao nang ang iha karong tributary width is kana. Okay, which is half of L1 nga kaduhaon, that is L1 also, L1 over 2 plus L1 over 2. So all of this shaded area nga part will be carried by this particular beam. Okay? So on the other hand, pag two-way gani ang atong slab, wala kang giingon ganina, no? Nga naka-umbrella. Alright? So sometimes also, naka-triangle, walay trapezoid nga loading if the beam or if the ratio between the L2 or the longitudinal direction and then the shorter direction is exactly equal to 1. In that case, mahimo siyang square nga floor system. Ang iya karong tributary loadings or yang loading will become like this. On the other hand, if the beam or ang iyang short direction is ang iyang long direction is dili equal sa short direction, just like this one, 15 over 10, ang ratio ani is 1.5, which is lesser than 2. So in that case, na ay trapezoidal nga mga loads ang makuha. Okay? So ang ano lang ani, ang pag-solve lang is tungaon lang nato ng short direction, just like what we did in the one-way slab, and then take the 45 degrees of that particular dimension. Okay, so for example kani 5 man na siya diha, so you take the 45 degrees using tangent line, so mo na nakuha pug kag 5 diri. Okay? So that would be for two-way slab. Okay, so let's take a look on this example. So a steel framework is used to support the reinforced stone concrete slab that is used for an office. The slab is 200 mm thick. Sketch the loading that acts along members BE, this one, and FED. Okay, so meaning unsay load nga i-carry ani nga beam for BE, and then what will be the load that will be carried by the girder FED kani siya. Alright? So ang atong load karon is both dead load and live load. So here naatay dead load, which is we know that ang i-carry karon ni beam o ni FED, no? Ang i-carry niya is simply the dead load of the slab, no? Wala may wall nga nakabutang dire nga gi-specify. So ang i-carry lang ni BE karon is the slab itself. Right? So let us determine first kung unsa ba ni klase nga beam or unsa klase nga slab. Okay? So here, for this particular section, kani akong gi-squarean, this composed of a particular floor system. Also, for this one, the same gyapon siya, this composed of a floor system. So natay duha ka floor system AB, EF, and BC, DE. But of course, since they have the same dimension, so unsay i-carry aning dire, mao sa dito sa pikas, so pareho lang. Alright? So first is let us take the ratio between B all over A, or long direction over the short direction. So in that case, B is 5 and then A is 2. So we will get a value of, or a ratio of 2.5. Now take note, 2.5 is greater than 2.0. So meaning, what type of slab is this?
One-way slab.
One way.
One way, no? So one way siya kay more than 2 or greater than 2 man. So kung one way siya, ang iyaha day i-carry ani kaning beam BE na to will be half of the short direction. So atong tungaon na di katunga, diri sad tungaon na tog katunga. So ang dimension ani karon is katunga sa A ug katunga pud sa A diri sa pikas, no? Kani is katunga A over 2 ni siya. This one also is A over 2. So the width of this particular area here will be A. Okay? So kani akong gi-shade karon nga area will be carried by beam BE. Okay? So ang i-carry karon ni beam BE is simply the dead load, the combination of the dead load and the live load. So kailangan nato solbon sa si dead load. Now take note, ang atoa karong idealized structure for beam BE will be like this. Right? So, ina ni siya. So, like for example, naka simply supported lang na atong beam BE. Wala man sa i-specify, no, kung fixed ba siya or simply supported. Assuming that that is a simply supported beam, mao ni karon ang iyang idealized structure with a particular load which is uniformly distributed load all throughout the span of the beam, which is ang iyang span ang span ni beam BE is B, which is 5 meters. Okay? So, ang value dayon, ang magnitude dayon sa atong load, which is acting on beam BE, will be dead load plus live load. Right? Pero wala pa ta kabalo unsa bay value ni dead load o unsa bay value ni live load. In this case, since this is a uniformly distributed load, dapat ang atong answer ni ini is kilonewton per naman. Uniformly distributed load sa may unit.
Meter square.
Lo, malakan yang kilonewton
Meter
per
square, sir. Meter square.
meter square or meter? Meter no? Kay uniformly distributed load man, no? Dili man siya pressure. So kilonewton per meter. So dapat ang atong makuha or atong ma-solve is in terms of kilonewton per meter. Okay? So unsaon man dayon nato pag-solve, no? So we have dead load. Now take note, ang ato karong gigamit nga material for the slab is a reinforced stone concrete slab which has a given daan, no? There's no need to look at the table because gihatag daan diha ang ato ang unit weight which is 23.6 kilonewton per meter cube. Okay? So take note, ang ato ang dapat nga unit ani is in terms of kilonewton per meter. So dapat atong ma-cancel out ang duha ka meter aron makakuha tag kilonewton per meter nga value. So in this case, unsa man atong i-multiply?
Ang distance.
Area.
Area.
Sir, area.
May multiply na to.
Area sa kaning kuan slab ata.
Area. Now take note, no, pag magkuan ganita og uniformly distributed load, ayaw apila katong iyang span. Okay, kaya ang mahitabo man gud ana is load per meter. In other words, mao na ang distribution niya for that particular span.